The fluorescent lights of the emergency room burned my eyes as I tried to focus on the admission forms. My hands trembled as I wrote, each letter blurring into the next. The metallic taste of blood lingered in my mouth, and the right side of my head throbbed where Jason had slammed me into the garage wall. "Remember, Sophia, you fell during soccer practice," my mother whispered, her manicured nails digging into my arm. "We can't let this affect your brother's scholarship chances." Jason, my older brother, sat across from us, scrolling through his phone like this was just another inconvenient errand. His soccer jacket, the one emblazoned with state champion, hung perfectly on his shoulders, hiding the rage-filled person beneath. "I'm Sofia Martinez, 16, and I've spent years pretending my brother's violence was just roughhousing." Jason, the soccer star, the straightest student, our parents' pride and joy. Jason, who'd been using me as his personal punching bag since I was 12. This time was different. When I caught him stealing money from our parents' safe, he didn't just push me around like usual. The look in his eyes changed. Something snapped. My head hit the garage wall with such force that I blacked out. When I came to, our parents were already crafting the cover story. "Ms. Martinez?" A nurse called my name, frowning at my unsteady gait as I stood. "The doctor will see you now." "We're coming with her," my father announced, already rising. "Actually, sir, hospital policy requires we speak to minor patients alone first," the nurse stated firmly. "Standard procedure for head injuries." I could see the panic in my parents' eyes. Jason finally looked up from his phone, his jaw tightening. The nurse, whose name tag read Emma, led me to a small examination room. As soon as the door closed, she turned to me with knowing eyes. "Want to tell me what really happened?" I opened my mouth to recite the practiced lie, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the splitting headache, or the way the room kept tilting, or just years of pent-up fear finally reaching their breaking point. "My brother," I whispered, tears spilling down my cheeks. "He did this. He's done it before." Emma's gentle hand stilled as she cleaned the cut on my temple. "How long?" 4 years. My voice cracked. "But nobody believes me. He's the perfect son." She nodded slowly, documenting everything in my chart. "We need to run some tests. A CT scan will show us what we're dealing with." The next hour passed in a blur of medical terms and worried faces. Dr. Patel, the neurologist, ordered immediate imaging after seeing my dilated pupils and noting my slurred speech. As they wheeled me toward radiology, I heard my parents arguing with the hospital staff. "This is ridiculous," my father's voice boomed. "She fell at soccer practice." "Mr. Martinez," Dr. Patel's calm voice cut through, "your daughter's symptoms indicate severe head trauma inconsistent with a simple fall." In the scanning room, the technician positioned my head carefully. "Try not to move," she instructed, her voice kind. "The machine will show us everything we need to know." As the scanner hummed around me, I thought about all the times I covered for Jason. The accidental push down the stairs when I was 13. The playful choking that left bruises last year. The countless clumsy moments that always seemed to happen when no one else was around. Dr. Patel's face was grave when she reviewed the images. She pointed to several areas on the scan, speaking quietly with Emma and another doctor I didn't recognize. "Sophia," she said finally, "these scans show multiple areas of previous trauma. This isn't the first serious head injury you've sustained." "That's impossible," my mother interrupted from the doorway, having somehow worked her way in. "She's never had any head injuries." "Actually, Mrs. Martinez, these scans tell a very different story." Dr. Patel's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "There's evidence of at least 3 prior concussions, and the pattern of injury is consistent with repeated trauma. This isn't from sports accidents." I could see the color drain from my mother's face as Dr. Patel continued, "I'm required by law to report suspected abuse. Officer Torres is already here to take a statement." Through the window, I saw Jason being escorted to a separate room by a police officer. For the first time in years, he looked scared. Emma squeezed my hand as a female police officer entered my room, notebook ready. "You're safe now," she whispered. "Your brain scan told us what you couldn't say. Let's make sure it never happens again." Looking at the images of my brain on the screen, I saw years of hidden trauma laid bare in black and white. No more lies. No more cover-ups. The truth was finally coming out, one scan at a time. The next few hours felt like watching a movie of someone else's life. Officer Torres, a compassionate woman with steady eyes, recorded every incident I could remember. Each memory spilled out like poison finally being drawn from a wound. Start with the first time, she encouraged, while a medical photographer documented the fresh bruises blooming on my head and neck. I was 12, my voice shook. Jason was angry because I scored higher than him on a math test. He waited until our parents went to bed, then came to my room and held a pillow over my face until I promised to fail the next one. Dr. Patel continued examining the scans, pointing out each area of damage. See these darker regions? They indicate repeated trauma. This isn't from one incident, this shows a pattern of abuse over years. Outside my room, I could hear my parents' world crumbling. Their carefully constructed facade of a perfect family was shattering under the weight of medical evidence they couldn't explain away. There must be some mistake, my father kept insisting. Jason would never. The brain doesn't lie, Mr. Martinez, another doctor interrupted. These injuries tell a very specific story. Jason was being questioned in another part of the hospital. Through my partially open door, I caught glimpses of another officer escorting him to a police car, his perfect soccer champion posture finally broken. Emma stayed with me, holding my hand through the neurological tests. You're experiencing symptoms of a severe concussion, Dr. Patel explained. We need to keep you overnight for observation. A social worker named Ms. Parker arrived, carrying a thick folder and a determined expression. We're implementing an emergency protection order, she explained. Jason won't be allowed near you, and given your parents' history of enabling the abuse, we're arranging temporary alternative housing for you. But where will I go? The thought of leaving, despite everything, terrified me. My sister runs a youth shelter specifically for cases like yours, Emma offered. It's safe, secure, and they have an excellent academic support program. Ms. Parker nodded. We've already arranged it. You'll have your own room, counseling services, and 24-hour security. My parents tried one last time to regain control of the situation. My mother burst into my room, tears streaming down her face. Sophia, please, think about what this will do to your brother's future. Officer Torres stepped between us. Ma'am, I suggest you worry more about your daughter's future, and your own. Enabling child abuse is a serious crime. Those words seemed to finally break through. My mother collapsed into a chair, while my father stood in the doorway, looking lost. We've contacted the school board and the athletic association, Officer Torres continued. They're launching their own investigation into whether the coaching staff ignored signs of abuse. The thought of Jason's precious soccer career crumbling gave me no joy, just relief that he couldn't hurt me anymore. Dr. Patel returned with more scan results. We found evidence of a hairline fracture in your skull from today's attack, she said gravely. This could have killed you. The reality of how close I come to death hit me hard. Emma squeezed my hand tighter as tears rolled down my face. Your brother is being charged with aggravated assault, Officer Torres explained. Given the medical evidence and the severity of your injuries, he'll be tried as an adult. Miss Parker was already working on her laptop, finalizing details. The shelter has a specialized program for survivors of family violence. You'll have access to trauma-informed therapy, educational support, and legal advocacy. My phone kept buzzing with messages from Jason's friends, some threatening, others expressing shock. Emma gently took it away, promising to save any evidence of intimidation for the investigation. As night fell, my hospital room became quieter. My parents had been escorted out, both facing their own charges of child endangerment and failure to protect. Jason was in custody, his perfect future replaced by serious criminal charges. Try to rest, Emma said, adjusting my pillows. Tomorrow will be a new beginning. Looking at the brain scans still displayed on the screen, I saw the map of my suffering laid bare in clinical detail. But I also saw something else. Evidence that could finally force everyone to acknowledge the truth I'd been screaming silently for years. Miss Parker patted my hand. You're not alone anymore, Sophia. Your brother's actions are finally being seen for what they are, and you'll never have to cover for him again. As the medication took effect and my eyes grew heavy, I thought about all the times I'd wished someone would see through our family's perfect facade. Now, thanks to modern medical technology and caring professionals, the truth hidden in my brain could finally set me free. The last thing I heard before drifting off was Officer Torres on the phone, ensuring my safety. Yes, we need a permanent protection order. The scan results alone are enough to prove years of systematic abuse. For the first time in 4 years, I fell asleep without fear of what my brother might do in the darkness. 6 months later, I stood in front of the mirror at Hope Heaven Youth Shelter, adjusting my court appearance outfit. The girl staring back at me was different from the scared teenager who'd arrived here with a concussion and broken spirit. My eyes were clearer now, my stance stronger. Today was Jason's sentencing hearing. The trial had been brutal but quick, with the medical evidence leaving no room for doubt. Dr. Patel's testimony about my brain scans had silenced even Jason's most expensive defense lawyers. The images of my injured brain projected on the courtroom's large screen had told a story no one could deny. "Ready?" Emma asked, poking her head into my room. She'd stayed involved in my case, becoming something of a big sister figure. She'd even helped me to apply to pre-med programs. I decided to become a neurologist, inspired by Dr. Patel's role in my rescue. The courthouse felt less intimidating this time. My parents sat on the opposite side of the room, looking aged beyond their years. The investigation had revealed they covered up Jason's violence toward others too. 3 former girlfriends had come forward with similar stories. Jason sat with his lawyers, his soccer jacket replaced by a suit that couldn't hide his anger. His scholarship was long gone, his perfect reputation shattered. The security footage from our garage, showing him slamming my head into the wall, had gone viral despite efforts to protect my privacy. "The court calls Sophia Martinez," the judge announced. Walking to the witness stand for my victim impact statement, I felt steady. The months of therapy had helped me find my voice, and I intended to use it. 4 years ago, my brother started using me as his punching bag. I began, my voice clear. My parents taught me to protect his reputation instead of my own life. But my brain kept a record of every attack, every injury they tried to hide. Today, I'm not here to protect anyone but myself. I described how the abuse had affected my life, the nightmares, the panic attacks, the way I'd learned to move through my own home like a ghost. But I also spoke about my healing, about the strength I'd found at Hope Haven, about my plans for medical school. The brain scans didn't just show my injuries, I continued. They showed the truth no one wanted to see. They gave me back my voice, my safety, and my future. Jason wouldn't look at me, but I saw him flinch when I described the last attack. Our parents wept quietly, finally facing the reality of what they'd enabled. The judge's sentence exceeded even the prosecution's recommendations: 12 years for aggravated assault, with additional charges for the previous attacks. My parents received 3 years probation each, mandatory counseling, and community service working with abuse survivors. "Your Honor," Jason's lawyer tried one last time. His promising future was forfeited. The judge cut in. The first time he chose violence. The medical evidence shows years of escalating abuse that could have ended in death. The court cannot ignore such systematic violence. Outside the courthouse, my support team gathered around me. Dr. Patel had come to show solidarity, along with Officer Torres and Miss Parker. The shelter girls had made a banner, "Strength Speaks Truth." The brain clinic called. Emma mentioned as we left. "They want to use your case to train medical staff about recognizing patterns of abuse in imaging. You could help save others." That evening, back at Hope Haven, I packed for my upcoming move into student housing. My full scholarship to pre-med program started next month. Turns out many organizations support abuse survivors pursuing medical careers. I kept copies of my brain scans, not as a reminder of trauma, but as proof of survival. They hung on my wall alongside my acceptance letter and the photo of my support team. My phone buzzed with a message from Dr. Patel. "Proud of you. Remember, healing leaves its own marks: strength, resilience, wisdom. See you at the clinic next week." I was starting an internship at her neurology practice, learning the science that had helped save my life. Someday, I'd be the doctor reading scans, seeing the stories hidden in shadows and light, helping others find their voice. One of the younger shelter girls knocked on my door. "Can you help me with math?" she asked shyly. "They say you're good at explaining things." Looking at her, I saw my past self, but also hope for the future. Of course, I smiled. "Let's study in the common room." As we walked down the hall, I caught my reflection in a window. The bruises had long faded, but something better had taken their place. Confidence, purpose, strength. My brain scans had told my story when I couldn't. Now I was writing my own next chapter, one where the truth didn't hurt anymore. It healed.